Hello everyone and welcome to another puzzle piece. Back again with some more... Oh fuck, I just realized I put an audio filter on my game audio source and I'm using a different source now, so let me do that real quick. Give me 32, 36. Okay, that should be good. Hello everyone and welcome to another puzzle piece. Going round 3 with Atari 50, and we're gonna actually dip into the of the DLC packs. The first console war. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. Uh, what if the company behind the Intellivision also created cartridges for the Atari 2600? The answer was M Network. Wait, what? Okay, that's not how I expected that to start. Cool. Um, Wait a minute. Okay. Um, yeah, Mattel's. That's the they made anti-electronic games, auto race, and football. So then they try to go into video games. For console, this is. Wait a minute. Did you just say high controls? Oh, that type of controls is like, wait, we can play these? These like little lights. Atari success with the VCS led Mattel to consider the potential. Um, yeah, I mean there's others besides the Intellivision in the late 70s era. There's the Fairchild. There's the Let me look up second gen video game consoles to see. Yeah. Uh. Oh right, Magnavox made a sequel to the Odyssey. Um. This list also has this Ballycade, Astrocade. What the heck is this? I know the other ones, but yeah, this is also one of the consoles that definitely did the numbering aesthetic for um, their games. I looking to see if there's a sales figure on this. Um, the 2600 sold a good 30 million, and television sold about 4 million, maybe more. Oh, that figure doesn't even include the first year or two. Okay, it sold some. Um, let's see how it started. Probably feast on
After the
Halloween
success
candy.
of the Atari VCS,
Wait, I want to show captions.
Mattel, as a toy company, looked at this and said, maybe we should consider getting into this business.
They started their Mattel Electronics division releasing handheld games. Their handheld football, which was an LED game, was a smash hit.
Somebody had the idea that the TI, Texas Instruments calculator chip, could also be used for games. It worked in calculators, we could make a game out of it. That's where those handheld games came from.
When I first saw it, I'm like, how is this football? Because the field is only this big. how is this 100 yards? And then, of course, you play it and you realize you have to go multiple times to get a touchdown. But oh man, it was great.
The Atari VCS was being sold in toy stores. Mattel did not like giving up shelf space and consumer dollars in toy stores. And I think as much as anything, it's that sense of holding your position, holding market share in the toy industry. That plus the sense that there was a potential here, I think, is what drove the decision.
Mattel saw that Atari was making lots of money, hand over fist, making video games, and decided to make their own console, which they called the Intellivision.
They had an outside consulting group make a set of initial games for the machine for the playtest.
They contracted with a company run by a man named Glenn Hightower to develop the system and develop cartridges for it. So he ran his company, APH Technology Consultants. Mattel found him and contracted him and his company to produce the system and the games. And in 1979, the end of 1979, they test marketed the Intellivision, and then it went full release in 1980.
They test marketed the Intellivision video game console in Fresno, California, and it tested out great. And this was late 1980, and that was when the radio ad got put on the radio. I was actually driving home from work one day, and I heard an ad on the radio, and the ad said, "Do you want to work in the exciting world of video games?" And I didn't know whether to look down at the radio or look up to God if I was being talked to it this way. And would you like to help shape the future of this exciting new entertainment medium? At first, they did not believe that I had been programming video games for 9 years. Eventually, they realized I was telling the truth, and I got hired as one of the original 5 in-house programmers at Mattel. So the original 5 team members at Intellivision on day one were Gabriel.
Also, I'm gonna back up real quick because I might have. I apologize. I was looking up something, an anecdote regarding the So Sears would make their own versions of these consoles back in like there's a Sears version of the Atari 2600. There's a Sears version of the Intellivision. It might go over that, but like besides the Pong, like they did the Pong consoles, and then they did like literally just a branded version. I also might go into in the wider world of Atari, the Japanese like Atari 2800. But that also got released as Sears as the Video Arcade 2. Yeah, it's a weird branding deal. When I was talking about shelf space, it just reminded me of the Sears thing. I need to see the person saying they developed games for 8 years or 7 years beforehand. Like, did they work on Odyssey or what?
And this was late. That was when I was actually driving home from work one day, and ad on the radio. Do you want to work a game? And at the rate being talked to help shape new and first that I had been programming video games for 9 years. Look up to the radio.
Okay, let's see.
Make a that plus being sold idea.
Sorry about that.
Success of the Atari Hell and business.
No, okay, he's not going to get into.
Texas Instruments can be used for games. Game out of it.
Okay, he doesn't get into it here at least.
Holding your position, had an outside being talked.
I was just curious if it was like an Odyssey or like what was the
at Mattel.
his connection.
So the original 5 team members,
or if he was doing arcade units.
Were Gabriel Baum, who was our manager, Mike Minkoff, John Soule, myself, Rick Levine. The consultants at APH who had been working on the test market games also continued to stay involved, and they also were working on games in parallel to us. But like modern video game companies, Mattel realized they wanted to control the development themselves, and that's why they built an in-house team. If you were a toy designer or you worked for the toy company, you turned left and you went into what was then a modern office tower. If you turned right, you went down into where we were, except that was a converted warehouse.
The entire video game division, we were in a separate building.
Okay,
and at
so
lunchtime,
these are all employees of
we
the
were allowed to
M
walk
network
down this
at
middle
launch.
corridor to the lunchroom, and everybody's doors in the toy company, all the doors were closed. And it was like, you're not allowed to go into any of those doors. It was very like secret, secret, secret. And then we would go and we'd have lunch, and then we'd go back. And one day we were walking down that corridor, and some like little like motorized car was zooming around. It was like, oh, there's life, there's a toy, but it went through a door and it closed. And so we were outsiders.
It's pretty funny. Okay, let's get the guy's name real quick and look him up.
After the success of
Don Dagla. Okay, let me look him up. Okay, right. Let me put up the I'll put up my YouTube, or not my YouTube. Sorry, my browser source. Just to have this here, maybe as like a. Okay. Oh man, he did Utopia. I was gonna mention Utopia. That's like the game from the Intellivision I actually care about. For lack of a better word. Oh my goodness. Fuck yeah. Okay, so he did. Oh, cool. He was doing PC games in the 70s. He did Neverwinter Nights? Holy wow. Wow, okay. Damn. Oh my goodness. That's yeah. That's really fucking cool. Ooh. Multiple camera angle. Oh, like it did, yeah. Because that's actually, you have to actually track the logic and then, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's really awesome.
the Atari VCS.
Okay, yeah. After a successful test during the 1979 holiday season. Okay, so they were testing in the 70s, and then they debuted in early 1980. Test. Okay, yeah, that audio's good still. Oh, cool, like a 10-game bundle. Oh yeah, that's a little less pricey, but how are the graphics? It's all about the graphics.
Atari developed this joystick, which is just a stick coming up, and you can move it with the Atari in 8 different directions: forward, backward, left, right, and then the 4 diagonals. And that controlled the object on the screen. Mattel decided to go better than that. Mattel controller is a rectangle with this disc on the bottom, a round disc, but 12 buttons over it. Anyway, what the disc was, you can press it in any of 16 directions, and that controlled what goes on the screen. If you're used to a joystick, it's difficult to work with.
I didn't like the controller. I didn't like the controller. I didn't like it.
I mean, a joystick with a button, that feels like a video game. This other one felt like an accounting package.
The Intellivision had the bad interface versus the joystick. Things like that were just things you would argue over all the time.
It felt maybe even like the games were very soft. They weren't edgy.
I'd say visually the Intellivision looked a lot better, but also the 2600, because of its requirement for drawing the screen, meant that every game had to run at 60 frames per second.
Like even today we had discussions like, can we get to 60 frames a second? And like every Atari game that exists is 60 frames a second, because if they didn't, they have to hit that or the screen won't draw, you know? So no Atari game has any sort of lag or anything, because they had no option to have lag.
How many 2600 games were made? 600 in the original few years of the console? That was possible because the software controlled everything, and in the Intellivision, the hardware did what it could do and nothing else.
Wait, what does that statement even mean? The software controlled everything, and hardware did what could and nothing. That's not what? Like, are you saying the Intellivision had a lot of specialized units or some? Like, it is early hardware development, but like, what does this point even mean? Again, this wasn't brought up. Sorry, I just keep backing up because like the. Yeah. So there's all the controller thing, the disc. I don't know. The disc is like not the worst thing, but you need some sort of tactile feedback, and you're not getting that much with that. So I mean, like the original D-pad design, right? The rocking back and forth, opposed to the 4 separate buttons that the Switch has. That was the idea. Yeah, like I don't get that statement at all.
Out of all the systems I've worked on, the one actually that kind of bested me was the Intellivision, because it's such a unique architecture.
The instruction set for the Intellivision was not an 8-bit instruction set. General Instruments made it 10 bits wide. So when we wrote instructions, we had more opportunities, more things.
I love that like extra bit shit. Like I was watching a Kaz video recently because for all the oddities and quirks of the N64, and apparently yeah, you have the 9th bit that's for GPU instructions. And otherwise, the CPU uses 8th bit.
We could do in assembly language because it was 10 bits wide. Basically, it just means we had a book with more pages listing the dictionary of what we could do.
You hear stories about how some engineers just couldn't quite get the Intellivision to do what they wanted. And the reason some of the games are slower is because that understanding of that architecture is very challenging. So games could run really fast on the Intellivision. You just had to do it a certain way. And most people tried to approach programming the Intellivision like they would the Atari 2600 or an old 8-bit computer. They thought that's the way you should do it. But
okay, I'm hoping they go ahead and they explain in terms of the challenges with like where the limitation was, because you can still in terms of was there a lack of registers or something, so you had to do more like clever memory management strategies, or like you had to rely more on reading and loading like a register to do operations. Like you basically had less of a stack. Like was it the opposite? Like what was it? Just trying to guess ideas of, because like the 10-bit, 10-bit instruction set, that's fine, to be honest. That's not going to be a make or break in terms of performance. Unless you do stuff like if you have the in-game counter, you can work with 2 more bits. But if you're doing a like an addition prompt, right? Let's just say you're adding 1 to a register, that doesn't really matter.
in fact, the Intellivision has a very specific way you should be creating games for it.
So it was made with newer technology. And with that technology, they were capable of making more resolution of backgrounds, more colors, not necessarily better colors, but more.
That's fair. Color palette's important.
I think they could put 8 sprites on the screen.
The Intellivision itself, because they started work on it about 2 years after Atari had started work on the VCS, it had more advanced chips. And so where the Atari was using a 6502 chip, which is a very basic and because of its simplicity, a powerful chip.
Yeah. Oh, did it do a bunch more like CISC type instruction sets
for its time.
opposed to
we were
the
using
RISC?
a GI 1610 chip, which had 16-bit logic.
Oh, wait a minute. So they cheaped out and they use a 10-bit like registers and shit, but you had to write your instructions 16-bit wide. Yeah, okay, I can see why that's confusing.
Oh, 8-bit, 16-bit. Well, in television was kind of 3 different kinds of bits. We were very confusing.
The thing is, once we programmers started doing tricks and making the Atari 2600 do things that it was not supposed to do, we ended up with more sprites than the Intellivision.
And part of the benefit of using 6502 is just that was a standard for the industry in terms of a microprocessor. So everyone knew how to work with it from other systems, right? You had your Apple II would use it. You had your Atari. You had what other things used? I mean, the NES was later, but that used a modified 6502. What's another product that used a 6502? Let's see. MOS 6502. Wonder if there's a section of what the fuck was used for it. Apple II. Oh yeah, Commodore. ET. These are later. I guess maybe like I wonder. None of these are super ahead of when the Atari 2600 released. Yeah. So I wonder how much that played into it. Not that much, to be honest, because it's not like there's a very clear end date for the 2600 in terms of the crash. For when relevant games essentially stopped. Yeah, I don't know.
I did a game called Freeway, and Freeway had 10 moving sprites on the screen.
In many cases, a lot of engineers that were on the Atari went to Intellivision and vice versa. And then many engineers that went out to third parties like Activision and whatnot would end up working on multiple platforms. So they'd work on Intellivision and Atari.
I mean, I was at a CES one day showing Pitfall, and the Intellivision programming crew came around. I remember just kind of standing behind them, and they were saying, "How do you make a swinging vine that would use all 8 of our sprites? There would be nothing left for Pitfall Harry." And so the swinging vine is a trick. It's a programming trick. And without it, Pitfall doesn't exist.
All the companies in the Bay Area particularly that were working on Atari and Intellivision games were told not to intermingle, not to hang out with people from the other companies.
Because those games also didn't have transparency, so like in terms of a trick for that. I guess I could see the trick being done in 2 sprites. Using the background layer and just being careful where Harry is on the vine, essentially.
These secrets being...
Actually, no. Maybe you could just do 1 sprite because of the background. I'm not sure how big you could do sprites on there, but
let loose, and nobody wants anybody
maybe
to know
3 if you're being not generous, but
what everybody else is working on.
But occasionally, the programmers would run into each other in the mall, and one of them would say, "I finally figured out how you did that thing," or whatever. There was a little bit of interconnection.
But then hearing that they would all get together for beers at people's houses and play the games they're working on with everybody. And so it was like completely opposite of what they were asked to do. But it was a way for them all to keep sane and also to help each other out. Because
yeah, I mean, if there's no documentation, you gotta build that tribal knowledge somehow.
Once everybody was able to share what they had, even though they weren't supposed to, it really helped everybody understand like how they can improve their games and all stuff with all these great designers in the area.
That's nice. Damn, they really have a lot of video content, huh? Wait, why is this all... Okay, this is where they start actually playing games. Wait, do they not have any 1980 original games? Huh. That's really weird. Okay, let's play a video game and then go back. Right, controls. Left, right, fire, select, quick. Um, Regular speed. Start is enter. What the fuck? Game options, quick menu select. Oh, there we are. Okay, this is pretty boppin'. And yeah, using the paddle would be nicer for this. Like all these like precision games, having the circle is so much nicer than this. Or even a joystick, right? A joystick you can tell. I'm doing all these on keyboard, so it's a little shaky mistakey. Okay. Okay, let's keep Intellivisioning.
I'll try almost anything. So when Mattel Electronics asked me to compare their Intellivision games with Atari, I gave it a try.
Mattel started making these commercials with George Plimpton, comparing the two systems.
He was a writer who was brought in as the spokesperson for Intellivision. He would prop up a 2600 game against an Intellivision game and just ask you, basically ask you to tell the difference.
And I think the commercials played that up. You know, as you said, the commercials, you know, implied you were high and mighty if you could afford a Intellivision and you weren't stuck down in the, you know, dregs with your Atari machine.
As a generation of kids and adults were told every night on television
Every night.
by our Intellivision ads, it was a clearly superior video game console.
And so you'd see this like really amazing baseball game on the Intellivision that like in our eyes back then looked like real baseball, and then you see like some blocks over on the 2600 and weird sounds coming out, and baseball talks on the Intellivision. 2600 makes beeps.
Oh yeah, I hope they get into the IntelliVoice. In terms of digitized voice. I mean, that was a thing in the arcades in the 80s as well. Like you got the was it Double Dribble, the basketball game? You got the Star Spangled Banner playing, but I mean, here let's just compare the two real quick. Okay, we got Intellivision. We got to do B-17 Bomber. I don't have audio for this. Fuck. 1 second. Let's do this. Oh, I just realized it's an ad, but I can't skip it. What the fuck? Oh, I gotta turn up Firefox. Sorry. Firefox is up all the way. What the heck? Okay, let's do this instead. I can capture audio here. Oh, 1 second. Advanced audio. Oop. Oop. Wait, let's try top 10 Intellivision games. Okay, is this better? Why is this so low? There we go, that's why. Okay.
Dell Electronics presents
That is too high.
Dell Electronics presents P-17 Bomber.
Okay. That's the classic AVGN thing. Now let's do double dribble, star, Spangled Banner. Sure. Let's do this version.
Getting dressed shouldn't be complicated. We want to make it simple for you to get dressed and get on with the meaningful things in life.
I don't know. That people were stoked for that at the time. Unironically. In terms of digitized voice. It's, I don't know. There are games on the NES. It's like 1 or 2 games on the NES that try to do digitized voice, but like, you know, compare. This is, by the way, Double Dribble came out in 1986. Double video game. Yeah, 1986. It's considered the most realistic. Hey. Yeah.
The Wooble sent me some.
Oh, fuck it. Never mind. We got the gist of that. NES games with digitized voice. Oh yeah, Ghostbusters.
We're in the wrong game. Hey, this looks like a...
Did they do a Three Stooges bit in the fucking Ghostbusters 2? Oh man, Firefox is that's one. Okay.
You'll win, but so...
Nope. The Adventures of Blades of Steel.
There we go. We gotta get that Blades of Steel in there. And all those NES ones sound better than Star Spangled Banner, to be honest. Oh, okay, one last thing. Dreamcast GTA 3. This is pretty recent, but this had really bad audio sampling. The port that someone just put out.
Another set of this.
Let me do the cutscene.
Station 300 TV station 4 network.
Like, you can't even hear the Dreamcast version.
But now it works extremely
Right, brother.
That's this PS2. You can hear it. Like, you can make it work on this. You just gotta... I mean, I guess they try to include all the audio, and that's the compression format they used versus... I don't know. Audio's hard.
And that sort of thing. So they would beg you to like compare it yourself and make the decision.
I compared Atari baseball with Intellivision and found Intellivision played much more like real baseball. Intellivision played with Intellivision. Baseball with Intellivision and found Intellivision played much more like real baseball.
Where the Intellivision, which cost $100 more than the VCS, where it excelled was in the sports games and great graphics.
Our rival television commercials.
Imagine sports games selling consoles.
And inside the company, we were tracking sales to see how we were doing, and it was very much competition. And of course, we wanted to beat them.
Then they showed the 2 football games, and the Atari football I've always hated. It doesn't resemble football at all, where the Intellivision version resembles football.
Then I compared Atari football with Intellivision. Again, Intellivision played more like the real game.
I don't know. I like
Again,
the Atari version, to be honest.
With Atari. Then I compared Atari Football with Intellivision. Again, Intellivision played more like the real game.
But,
The
I do
famous,
appreciate the
Atari
scrolling
game Football
bit
was like 3
television
or
had.
4-on-4, and that was a travesty to football fans. So the Intellivision felt, hey, we can at least, here's a baseball game, you got old people on the field. Here's a football game, you have a bigger team.
Our emphasis on sports at Intellivision was just recognizing that those were the games that we were doing that people were most responding to. Most of our best sellers were our sports games. And that was the place where we were clearly beating Atari in the marketplace.
And then Genesis would use that same thing.
In my opinion, if you try them both, there's only one conclusion you can come to. Intellivision from Mattel Electronics.
The problem was they didn't have any arcade games. And Atari, being an arcade company, excelled in arcade games. And another problem with the Intellivision was it was a slower system than the VCS because it sacrificed memory for graphics rather than for speed. And so Atari retaliated with their own commercial showing this nerdy looking kid and saying, well, here's Atari's arcade games and here's Mattel's arcade games, and there are no Mattel games.
As an intelligent consumer, I wanted to compare Atari asteroids with other companies' asteroids. But other companies don't make asteroids.
Atari had great brands that people already knew, and that they could bring those in.
I always think about this one r/hockey ship post where someone in like, you know, a Windows XP Movie Maker thing puts like a blue screen, you know, white curvy text like blank players like goal compilation for this year, and you hear the music starting up, and then it after that intro slide it just says that's all, thanks for like watching, because the guy has 0 goals that season and the music hadn't even like started yet. It's just ramping up
their home
in
operation.
the
We
background.
didn't have that at Mattel, and so we ended up licensing with
Hades
Beast,
was solid.
But even then we were doing more games that were derivative or copy type, just to try and keep pace with Atari.
Yeah.
I wanted to compare Atari Missile Command with other companies' missile commands, but other companies don't make that either.
Well, it probably didn't help that Intellivision came from a toy company. There's an aura there of softness, and Atari was, you know, video gaming.
But ultimately, when you
Keep
played the
talking
games,
about
you could really
softness.
tell the difference then, because the Intellivision and the way it presented graphics, the frame rate was pretty slow. It was pretty plotting, and the 2600 had this really fast frame rate. So games that were like shooters, racing games, all that stuff on the 2600 felt great, but they looked really nice on the Intellivision.
When it comes
The
to
performance mode versus quality mode. Oh no.
nobody compares to Atari.
So in a normal world,
Compares to Atari.
Warlords.
in a normal
Okay.
world, the Intellivision would have come along and blown the Atari out of the water because it seemed to have 4 times as much capability. That wasn't the reality. That was only the anticipation.
Despite all the TV commercials that Mattel ran every night for years saying how we were better, we never caught Atari in video game sales because of that price difference.
Yeah. Dude, people only had like 1 TV back then, maybe 2, and it's like the early 80s. So that's according to Back to the Future. It's in the in between of when an average family got a second TV. Okay, we'll watch a little bit of the.
I'll try almost
Okay.
anything. So when Mattel Electronics asked me to compare their Intellivision games with Atari, I gave it a try. I compared Atari Baseball with Intellivision and found Intellivision played much more like real baseball. Then I compared Atari Football with Intellivision. Again, Intellivision played more like the real game. In my opinion, if you try them both, there's only one conclusion you can come to. Intellivision from Mattel Electronics.
And then this one.
As an intelligent consumer, I wanted to compare Atari asteroids with other companies' asteroids. But other companies don't make asteroids. I wanted to compare Atari Missile Command with other companies' missile commands. But other companies don't make that either. Finally, I wanted to compare the new Atari Warlords. Unfortunately, other companies don't make it. When it comes to the video games the world wants most, nobody compares to Atari.
Pretty fun. Yeah, I just realized the M Network thing. They're not gonna have any of the Intellivision games on here. They're just gonna have the Atari games that Mattel released. Which it makes sense. It's an Atari collection, but like, I don't know. Would have been cool. We can zoom. That's pretty funny though. Like, oh, these are the players. Here's the players on Atari. Those are like, these are. That's a fucking shitty ass Texas. That's Texas compressed on Atari. And then you have people on the television. 16 position. Wow. That Atari Golf man is looking a little too happy. Yeah. Oh, that's cute. The television with the deal there. Hey, golf is it's gonna be the same gameplay. Yeah, okay. Same thing. Ooh. The special introductions to come, like Tron, Deadly Disc from the Walt Disney movie. Ooh. Ooh la la. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and then Voice debuted at $100 but failed to catch on with gamers. Ads. Yeah, Night Stalker was one of them. Which are the 5? That's literal false advertising. Oh, like the seal quality. Oh, that's a long video. Let's play two more games before we go do that. Paid more for the DLC than the fucking game. This is okay. Yeah, this is Atari. Okay. Dark Cavern. Oh, that's the game that they mentioned with the one-eyed robot. That's a nice Pac-Man like. Oh, never mind. Fuck. Okay. Just spawn camping them, huh? Oh, those aren't back and forth. Okay. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty fun. Okay, and one more. Pretty good looking Atari game, to be honest. Dude, is this frog fucking fractions? Let's go. Okay. Fine, one more actual game. Super Challenge Football, sure. Oh, this is a side-scrolling one. Oh man, look at that. Look at these sprites. Oh, whoops. I should check the controls. Action is space. Oh, it's a two. I'm in 2-player mode. Oh no, it's only 2 players. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Running the opposite direction would cause a defender to reappear on the other side of the field and let them catch the ball carrier. That's pretty good. Okay, let's watch a little M Network. MTV.
Mattel Electronics had no interest in making cartridges for the Atari 2600. What happened was this Glenn Hightower, who made the original cartridges for the Intellivision, he realized he got a bad deal out of it. Whatever games they sold to Mattel, they would get $30,000. Meanwhile, Mattel would turn around and sell like 50,000 copies of the games for a huge amount of money. And so he decided, well, why I should get in on this side. So he had his people reverse engineer the Atari 2600. They started making Atari versions of the Intellivision games.
So I remember when we were in the meeting where we were being told we were going to do this as a company, and we weren't asked, we were told.
It is hard to join a business that there's already 600 products.
Right.
And you're going to try to duplicate
and make a
one
mark.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty hard.
Most of the executives there didn't want to do it. They said, why should we sell games for a competing system? Also, they're worried that people will look down on them, like, they're jumping on the bandwagon for another company. And then Hightower convinced them there's 10 million Atari VCSs out there. There's 2 million Intellivisions out there. So instead of selling games just for 2 million consoles, you could sell games for potentially...
The Microsoft strategy. This is an Xbox. Yeah. I don't know, like, does it ever work out in history? Like, no, right? That's not... Unless there's some sort of very clear, like, hardware advantage, the software is the king.
$12 million consoles. And Mattel liked that idea, and that's why they went with it.
Once video games really started to take off and become this big boom, we had all of these copycat companies trying to come in from the outside, apart from Atari, Mattel, Activision. And everybody was trying to start a video game company. So you had games...
Oh, the Quaker Oats games. Oh, no. Oh, I remember reading up about that.
Apollo.
Oh gosh, they had this one game, the puppy, something game, Quaker Oats, puppy video game. Sneak and peek. No, what's the puppy food game? There we go. Chase the Chuck Wagon. No, wait, is that? Yeah. That's the Atari 26 and the Sears. See, you see a lot of the Sears bits on this video game list. Yeah. The using as a shovelware example. Gonna show gameplay? I'm just gonna read about Chuck for a second. Let me double check that this is showing properly. Or let's down. was, is Arena still around? I think. I forget what, oh yeah, the Kool-Aid cartridges. Now I'm just trying to remember. Oh, the Pepsi favors. Oh yeah, that's because the end screen has Coke wins, which is really funny. One second. Pepsi invaders.
Learn from world-class Udemy instructors like
No,
Chris.
Excel is a magician's hat that pulls out solutions to problems you never thought possible. As a former
Okay, YouTube, can you stop doing the like on mobile? I usually watch on mobile, so it'll show, okay, there's a thing remaining, right? And it'll still show the yellow bar, and it'll show the yellow bar if it's like a 30-second ad, slowly go versus fastly go to where the skip is. This is just a dick move if you're doing that. So if you get all the letters, keep going. Good rating. Oh, this was okay. That makes sense. This was a shitpost game essentially. Oh hey, bar fight. This is shovel. Why not both? um, yeah, I mean it's still Space Invaders, right? You can play this if you only had this, right? Then it's Space Invaders. Yeah, I just got sidetracked because we're looking at the Quaker Oats games, which reminded me, I thought Quaker Oats made this game for this dog food back in 1983. But and then I got a tangent with Pepsi Invaders and this article made by like, old website is super passionate about talking about Chucky the Chuck wagon. It's like a maze game? Oh, time-based score. Okay. Um, it's literally just a maze. Huh. Okay, yeah. Broken collision detection. How do you have that in your fucking game? Oh yeah, checks. Yeah, checks was good. It also was free in serials, so if you didn't have Doom, then like yeah, checks works, right? If somehow you had Pepsi Invaders, if you were a Coca-Cola executive in 1983 who did not experience Space Invaders, and that works.
Which some investors started up. You had the Quaker Oats video
Oh, yeah.
game division.
No worries.
And I say that and people think, oh, Don's joking. No, there really was a Quaker Oats video game division.
So many people got in
You
on
had all
games that were
kind of stuff going on,
weird.
people trying to build games for Intellivision and for
It's like
Atari.
cursed.
At a certain point, I think both companies decided, I don't know who went first or
I didn't even show that Kool-Aid video game that was
we should try to
mentioned.
be making games for each other because it's now at the point. We make games.
Mattel wants to make Atari games. Everybody has an Atari. We want to sell games. That was what they told us. Atari's everywhere, so let's make games that people will buy because of that.
As the teams evolved and kind of subdivided, one of the factors was those who had experience on 6502, which was quite a few of our programmers at that point. They tended to migrate more towards the VCS, and those who did not certainly were staying on Intellivision.
And I was hired just to do the VCS. Not
Oh,
because
interesting.
I had learned machine language, in college. And the VCS runs on machine language.
Some folks just loved the Intellivision and didn't want to go anywhere. For other people, it was kind of like, oh, we get to go head to head with Atari? That would be fun.
There was that added art part too, of let's be a step above. There was definitely that concept of we're going to be above Astro Smash or whatever.
So you're developing stuff that looks good enough on Atari where like the graphics part isn't really as big of a deal of in television.
High society Atari.
We as a whole, as a group, both M Network and Intellivision, felt like we had really good artists. So when I think about that, what Jane is saying rings true. We were good at combining artists and programmers in a way that brought the best out in both the programmers and the artists.
I was the only woman programmer in the whole group.
That checks,
network.
given the
I was
era.
kind of unaware of how unusual it was. So we were just like a bunch of people, and we all cared about video games and the problems of the VCS and conquering it, and we would share, oh crap, my cycles went too long. I mean, it was a team thing.
Somebody told me, you know that company M Network at CES? That's Mattel. And I said, I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. And then I found out it was. And I said, oh, okay, so they're giving up.
Let's click this magazine.
Hey, it is. Like, I'm curious though for Xbox if they, because they have the Series S as a base, if they want to go in the handheld, they're also looking at the ARM experimentation, right? Their next, that's why they're gearing up for their compatibility to make sure as many games as possible run on ARM. I'm not sure if Sony's going to do the same. I'm not even sure how much it makes sense to do, like, in terms of power like for handheld it makes sense, but I just wonder how successful they're going to be with their translation layers and such, because they've shown, with their 360 compatibility and such that they can. But having the Series S there is a nice baseline for like what they can do with a handheld. They just kind of got build the handheld around the Series S architecture. But then they'll still release their games on everything else. So like they still have hardware that they want to make. Whereas Mattel did not make another home console. Wait, shit, they might have. No, did they make? They might have made the Intellivision 2. Fuck. Television 2. No, they did. Wait, they were developing. No, they did. Let's look at
Television to compete against perfect working order. They actually gave up and bought script from the front of it, but annoyingly,
that's pretty good. That's
they
like,
dropped the awesome.
In terms of graphics quality, it's like, maybe like in between Coleco and NES. It's not quite NES in terms of what fidelity they're using, but it's I think a little better than ColecoVision, Donkey Kong. That's the game you use to compare. Yeah, maybe closer to the Coleco than the NES.
It was Electronic Games, but they had this rumor page and they talked about how.
I don't know. I'm just still struggling with the fact, like, how much.
I couldn't get to my friend's house fast enough to be like.
Like, it's never.
Like, there's no way Atari would make games for the Mattel Intellivision, which they would later.
Atari did the same thing. They made games.
Like, it's short-term games.
The Atari soft label and other systems
doing that.
So there was definitely a lot of back and forth with all these companies once they started cross-selling games across platforms.
But at the time, they were the first to concede, and so I was very excited. Not because I wanted the games, which I kind of did, but because I could actually claim victory over my friends that Mattel has to make Atari games to succeed in the game business.
It was just
in terms of console exclusivity stuff.
And it was a good thing for gamers because you could play the games on whichever system you chose.
A lot of their library is based on Intellivision games, and the Intellivision was a pretty capable console. Visually it looked different from the 2600, but a lot of the games had a lot of depth to them.
the cartridge shape was basically the Intellivision cartridge, but then they had this 2600 weird adapter they plugged into it at the bottom. And so they didn't bother. They could have, if you think about it, the tooling for the adapter was probably more than enough to make an actual cartridge case. But the defiance to be like, no, we're going to make a real Intellivision cartridge and make it look and be evocative of Intellivision, even though they're using it on a 2600, I thought was a really interesting approach for them.
When I heard they were coming out with Atari games, I was in the camp that, yeah, you know, they know that that's the market leader. We might as well jump on the bandwagon. And there were so many. There must have been at least 2-3 dozen companies at that time producing games for.
Like, I think in terms of exclusivity talk nowadays, it's like just because PC has such more of a presence, like there's, even if, you know, let's say, especially because we're in the era of I don't know, I always like to think in my head, like, what could Microsoft do to almost like come back and stuff. And a lot of the advantages they had in the 360 era just don't apply because a lot of it involved capitalizing on Sony shooting itself in the foot. As well, like in terms of price and architecture compatibility. Where they don't have like almost back a lot of, lack of a better term, goodwill built up for, you know, other markets besides like the US, essentially. They don't actually, that reminds me, let me look at Steam Deck sales in Japan. Deck and sales. Retail doesn't make sense because it's not. Would people be? No, people would still be buying, like shipping it, but they don't release. Anytime past year. So I'd love to see. That'd be like a good litmus test of someone who is coming in new in there. How well they could succeed, but it does seem like I don't know, like in an age of convenience, that's why Microsoft's approach is trying that, because they don't have the they aren't the de facto, and like they don't have, like, arguably there's a lot of better features on an Xbox, like in terms of like Discord's probably a big example of support of that. But in terms of usability and smart delivery and stuff like that, that, you know, we see with the PS5, people are just okay with like, okay, I'm just buying the A version of the game. The PS4 or the PS5 save management's not that big of a deal. Like they don't care too much. They don't care about the extra boxes, or like the $10 upgrade fee or stuff like that. Because a lot of times you'll just get, like, you buy one, you get the extra copy for free, but then you have to still like actively fiddle around with your files and stuff, or like backwards compatibility stuff, for example, like using your disc, like all the stuff to make it not enticing besides like having good software that is exclusive is there. And in terms of games people buy, like if we look at the best-selling PS5 games, I assume 4 are going to be exclusive and 6 are going to be sports. Only one is sport. Wait, how? That's not. This list is not meaningful in any way whatsoever. Like I get, like I know people don't receive sales data anymore, right? We don't have good sales data, but like okay, let's look at Canadian best selling games September 2024. Let's just look at like there's an account that does this, at least like works. Okay, so we have new release, sports, you know, make a game from previous year, make a game from previous year, make a game from previous year. Exclusives. That's a kudos for these three, to be honest. That's pretty cool. But a lot of what sells, like GTA 5 is always on the best-selling list. It's gonna be where people already are. It's gonna be where, like, I mean, they could do something absolutely wild and make one of these sports franchises exclusive, but no company would agree to make a big franchise exclusive. So, like, the Call of Duty approach is probably the best approach. Making it just easier on Xbox. But yeah, I don't know.
The 2600. So what's another one?
The sports games were fantastic from M Network, and I remember really liking Star Strike on the Intelligence. It felt like the sequence from Star Wars were going to the trench, and that was coming to the 2600. So secretly, I was super excited that I was going to start getting these Intellivision games on the Atari 2600.
The hyped Intel games like Astro Smash, which became Astro Blast, I like that game. And I think it was better to play on the Atari with the joystick than it was to play on the Intellivision with the disc.
Yeah, that's
one
fair.
game I played a lot of, probably more than any others, and it's a weird outlier, is Frogs and Flies, which is a port of Frog Bog. Dark Cavern, a good version of Night Stalker, which should have been my favorite. It's one of my favorites, but it was Frogs and Flies.
So Frogs and Flies.
Frogs and Flies.
They run the gamut as far as being good and bad. But there are a lot of them are based on Intellivision titles that didn't already exist on the 2600. So I think it's great that they did that.
They pushed the limits of the Atari 2600. So games like Bump and Jump or Air Raiders or even like their football and baseball games, they were pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive,
they were really
yeah.
close to their Intellivision counterparts, but also had their own unique look, and they had no compromises. So for a company to kind of come in and just try to cash in on the Atari craze, that isn't what it felt like. It actually felt like they were coming in here to make a difference and make really good.
Yeah,
games.
that's impressive.
So I like to think that we raised the bar. And then maybe others came along and did way better. Who knows? But we cracked it. We said, hey, you don't have to do the old hat stuff. You can play with it like it's a...
I still disagree with the statement before where it's like, oh, Intellivision hardware could only do what Intellivision hardware could do. It's just there was less, right, finding out the tricks of the console and pushing the hardware. If you have less people doing less with it, especially if you're continuing to make a closed ecosystem, then yeah, that's gonna be how it is. Let's play a couple more of these and then look at the look at more of the footage. What is this? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see me. Wait. Oh, I'm spawning multiple shit? What the fuck? Oh, so you put on 4 ships, and then when 2 opposing ships come within range of each other, they flash repeatedly. Oh, they flash repeatedly, and they switch to battle mode. Oh, okay. Oh, that's battle mode. Okay, okay, cool. That's a cool concept. These are cool games that they're making. Sword fight. Okay. I wonder. Did it just like the description said, right? Two futurists ignite face off in a battle of blades in this head-to-head fighting game. Unreleased prototype. Okay. I thought I pressed play and it made a riff like what it was, being heavily inspired by. Oh, there we go. That's what it said. The glowing weapons suggests Steve Tatsumi took at least some inspiration for his tactical combat from science fiction films. Yeah, unreleased. That's unfortunate, but okay. This was a demo that they created. Pretty good looking. Was the Atari bad for 2 players game somehow? I don't think so. Like, I just don't have not a second person, right? Like the pack-in game for the Atari 2600 was like combat, which was like basically tanks. I just, it's pretty simple combat. Like this game's pretty simple as well. It didn't actually release. Maybe they would have added more to it. But some of the stuff like the sea battle was looking good. Or like there's a co-op, like competitive ones, like this one, Astro Blast. I spawn one person, a second person can spawn, and they have the counter in the bottom right. I'm like, this is fun. No, it was good for 2-player games. I forget, because it might have an adapter where it could do 4, because there's definitely... If we go back to our Lord and Savior Warlords, we go into one of the 23 modes. We go this game variation, 4-player, right? That's you can connect 4 players here and do that. Let's go back to here. Let's continue on some of the history that I skipped. Oh gosh, this deluxe fold-out advertisement not only offered a reader its puzzle to pique their curiosity, but included a chance to win the library. To file... Wait. Add new life to Atari VCS with M Network home video games. Cool. That was worth unscrambling. But yeah, a lot of the appeal of like the 2-player game would have been getting a high score, beating the score of someone else. But some of them had like win conditions. It's just the era. Yeah. Yeah, this was the football game. Which again looked pretty good in terms of graphics. You got 5v5 here. You can do some plays. Let's see what baseball they released. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty good. And international soccer. Again, no single player mode because the code size, right? Fitting in, having, computing an AI even in some form probably costs too much memory, like too much space and CPU time to hit the 60 FPS requirement for these games. It's just easier to assume you have friends. I mean, listen, I can just score on my own. But like, yeah. They published 17, and then another 19 didn't release because 83 crashed, so. Ant Bear. The object of your game is to your tongue. The object of the game is to your tongue to collect as many insects as possible before your time or chances run out. Okay, so this is the fake box art that they misgrammared. Okay, this treasure hunt game that was too expensive. I had been told I was going to get to work on the Dungeons and Dragons game. D&D was my whole life. I ate, drank, and slept D&D, so I was really chomping at the bit to work on it. Unlike retail cartridges, EEPROMs allow a programmer to remove, replace, or rewrite the data on the chips during development. Yeah. Gosh, I remember learning about the different types of ROMs, for the difference between like a ROM and a PROM and an EEPROM. Because there's like program once, and I don't know. It's I don't remember the details, but it was really funny to me. Like, it was novel how like, oh, they developed the ability to write multiple times, or you have cases where you essentially I'm just trying to remember. EEPROM versus PROM. Sure. The EEPROM. Yeah. It takes time. Oh yeah, the costs always cost. But yeah, the EEPROM needed 20 minutes in a light just to erase, whereas EEPROM was the E was electricity. Different types. Jay Turing has a 1990s ass website. Oh, I just realized prom would be... Yeah, one-time programmable, and then... Yeah. The fuse. Okay. Let me look up that... Dane... Air John. Oh my goodness. Well, what's even the context for this? Why are you just suddenly... Okay. I'm gonna watch this. That's not a video. Oh! That's a person. I'm dumb. Wait, why does she have... Sorry, that makes even less sense now. What? Okay, so... What? Now I'm really confused why the fuck she has this as her. That's updated 2019, I guess. Is she in like a... I'm gonna choose to not comprehend this, okay? I'm gonna choose to... I refuse to comprehend this. Oh wow, so they found this quite recently. Okay. So what are the controls? Action is space. SMDT. What the start? Oh, I have to do a name. Yeah, that's my name. Oh fuck, I reset it. Okay. What? Yeah, that's my name. Okay. Okay, good luck. Map? Oh, okay. Look at that. Oh, fuck, I reset it. Oh, it's randomized too. I love the walking animation some of these games had. Okay, I need some sort of key. Oh no, I don't have anything to attack you. But also, I don't have, What? What did I do? If I go here, it's immediately gonna... Did I just throw in the corner? What am I doing? This is a book. Oh, hey, not much. I'm just trying to comprehend this 1984 unreleased Atari game. And I'm doing a bad job. Maybe I should read the instruction manual. Oh, I have feet. Boots of speed. Oh, speed upgrade. Okay. Oh, I guess I did miss the text from before. Oh. This is pretty neat, to be honest. Special key? Okay, so if I go down... Oh no, I can't... Okay. Unreleased. So this was a prototype after the video game crash, you know? Like, this is... They cut their losses, essentially, for the 2600. So all the games on this side were, like, actually published, you know, made it through development. And this is television, yeah, set in February 1984. Like, sold it off. And, yeah. A group of Intellivision programmers led by Keith Robinson bought Intellivision's library in 1997, made them available. Did they... So Atari acquired the assets. Huh, interesting. But, I remember, like, the Xbox PS2 era, they released those, like, compilations, like Midway Arcade. I think they did Intellivision Forever was the compilation. PS2 Intellivision compilation. Intellivision Lives, that's the one. Yeah, which is a pretty solid compilation. And then the Xbox Arcade Room would also be there. Let's see if there's any others I'm curious about before I watch the final video, because after I watch that video, I'm probably gonna end it off. Oh yeah, Air Raiders. This one looked cool. Fire, space, bank. Okay, cool. What you'd expect, basically. Did I immediately flip my? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's why. No, okay. I gotta get some speed. Oh, okay. Then it becomes shooting, shoot. What is shooting at me? Yeah. If I turn around, can I see what's shooting at me? My health is going down. But I don't... Oh, I totally... Okay. Just bumped against the ground. There we go. Those are planes. Oh, those were planes. Shit. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, I think we're gonna call this an L for now. All these games look pretty good. One of the few games that shares... Oh, this was a straight port. It's, I mean, all of these were ports, but this one advertised itself as such. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm good to watch this and then sign on out.
It's been noted over the years that when there are at least 2 and sometimes 3 consoles fighting it out is when the video game business is its healthiest.
I think there were only some of the business people for whom it was war. And even though I'm the one who started saying cartridge wars, that was a turn of phrase as a metaphor as opposed to a, and let's draw blood.
Why they make it red there?
Mid-November of '82, and so we do a demo. But the VP of marketing, his fancy suit, standing there. The VP turns his head very slowly and he looks at me and he goes, "What you have to understand, young man."
The editor had some fun with this.
We are at war. We are at war with Atari, which tells you the attitudes of Mattel. Every sale that we make,
so I can't get over this,
takes something away from Atari and gives it to us. And even if I can't sell it now, I can stop somebody from buying an Atari now with this game. And that's why we're putting it on television. And you have to understand that this is a war. I don't know if I can get my eyelids as close as low as his, but so we got the speech.
To Atari, it was a console war. To Mattel's Intellivision, it was a console war. To Activision, it was an opportunity.
And as kids, we didn't care at all. You know, I would go over friends' houses to play ColecoVision, and I was amazed. You know, like Donkey Kong was amazing. The controller sucked, but the games were still a blast to play, and we just ignored that. And same thing with Intellivision. Tons of fun games in Intellivision. The controller sucked, but we didn't care. We were having fun playing the games.
It's just ironic that there's much less of a console war now, because I mean, how many different consoles can you play Call of Duty on?
Yeah.
All of them? Right.
Well,
So
except
it doesn't
Nintendo.
even work that way anymore.
It's fine.
But if you wanted to play a particular game, if you wanted to play Plimpton's Baseball or whatever they called it, you had to have the Intellivision. There was no other way. And that certainly did make it a battle.
If you go back and you look at the old Intellivision and Atari.
I do wonder, was
commercials.
Renderware the first
they
like
do-
engine that really made it nice for people to develop on different consoles, like during the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation? Or were there some nice like in-house engines that just worked well enough for N64 and PS1, and I mean, getting stuff to run for Saturn's as 3D is a bit of an ask.
in different ways, and sometimes make fun of each other and so on. You see the height of it as far as the public was concerned.
It was definitely a console war between the two console makers, but we could use any console we wanted, and in fact would occasionally do that. We would say this game would work so much better on the Intellivision, let's put it over on the Intellivision shelf and work on it when we can. So yes, there was a...
Also for context, these two people were some of the Atari staff that left to make an Activision, so when they're saying that, that's what they're saying. It's like, oh yeah, Activision, we're just able to sell our games
There
anywhere.
were those of us who benefited from it.
I mean, Atari was so far ahead in sales, I don't think they really worried about the Intel. Maybe at first they did, but they were outselling it.
Yes, it was a war, but I think that the money was so heavily on the Atari side that, you know, Mattel was fighting a losing battle out the door.
Atari sold about 27.5 million VCSs. That's between 1977 and 1991. I don't know if that's if the numbers for the Intellivision are from just Mattel Electronics, but their total run was about 3 million.
You can't just show the Intellivision 2 and not mention it by name.
As the guy who coined the term console war, I would say actually that Atari won the first console war, because as much as I hate to say it, we never caught Atari in sales. We never sold as many games, we never sold as many consoles. Making money in this business is something that you have to do in order to keep making games. We're driven by passion, we have a love of making games. In the end, console wars are the business part of it.
There's one thing else I want to bring up before I end the stream regarding their games. So I mentioned it once or twice, but the Intellivision, you go to the best-selling games. In terms of, I just want to mention like the naming scheme of people numbering games for it. I'm pretty sure Intellivision had some numbered games. Or did it not? Ah, fuck it, let's ask the cloud. Okay, yo. Second, third generation video game consoles initially started with a naming scheme where each game on the console type number. Okay, let's just see. So I know, because I keep thinking. So Odyssey had no, I mean there's like no, that's not. Maybe the Fairchild. Fairchild, Channel F Games. Video cart. There we go. Dude, the amount of times I have to tell. The Fair had video cart with a number after. I am telling fucking ChatGPT who's bots. There any other consoles which had this naming scheme? Okay, maybe it's just the Fairchild. Yeah. In the end, console wars are the business part of it. We as game makers never felt we were at war. We're just trying to build great games. Unless you're a second-party developer or first-party developer, or they give you money. But yeah, that concludes this section. So next time I'll probably go into the highs and lows. I think I'm gonna do highs and lows, Dawn of PCs, Wider World, and then I'll go to 90s and beyond. So like we have 2 more mainline, a DLC, and then a mainline. This one goes all around essentially. So yeah, that's it for today's stream. Thanks everyone who watched, everyone who chatted, and yeah, join next time. Probably so like Wednesday I'm gonna do more Halo with Ben, and then Friday is gonna be either Halo or Atari. So one of the two. Yeah, until next time. Peace.